International Relations lecturer at Tel Aviv University. Joining us from Tel Aviv, thank you so much for joining us here for these new developments that have come in. We have obviously just heard that now 12 wounded individuals have just come in due to Iranian strikes. This conflict just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. What do you have to say about now other places in the Middle East and now having to also take shelter because they're worried not just military bases are going to be attacked?
Well, I wouldn't say that this conflict is getting bigger and bigger, as you claim. Rather, it is a conflict that essentially started 47 years ago when the Islamists took over power in Tehran, and since then have been fueling and feeding instability in the region, building a network of aggression spanning throughout the Middle East and the world. And we're now reaching an end to this historical process. I think what we're living today is a historical time, really equivalent to the Islamic Revolution in 1979. And the peoples in the region should be thankful to Israel and to the United States for finally bringing this nightmare to an end. And of course, the Iranian people itself, which is a prisoner to this sect, to this fanatic sect of Islamists, and who finally are going to be able to take their fate into their own hands, to free themselves, and to have a more normal Middle East. And as Prime Minister Netanyahu said, the fight, I mean, the free world, the United States and Israel are sending their fighter jets to free the Iranian people, but also to free the Middle East.
As we were just saying, in the Middle East, as these strikes are happening and residential buildings in the capital have been hit, what do you think the steps going forward is Middle Eastern officials going to be doing about this?
Well, first of all, we know that most of Iran's neighbors are being threatened by the mullahs, by the ayatollahs. We know that there have been hit targets in Bahrain and in other places throughout the Middle East. So of course, the Iranian regime is using its arsenal of missiles to strike its neighbors. And of course, all those countries hope for the victory of the U.S. and of Israel, and as I said, of the free world. Of course, we don't know how long this operation is going to last, but I think what is pretty clear is that with the involvement from day one of the United States, of the strongest army in the world, with the determination of President Trump and his leadership, it is obvious today that the defeat of the Islamic Republic of Iran is not a matter of if, but a matter of when.
And UK, Flea, thank you. Next breaking is UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called on Iran to end the ongoing conflict, stating that the country can stop the escalation immediately. He urged Iran to refrain from further strikes, halt its weapons programs, and cease violence and repression against its people. Starmer emphasized the importance of peace and security, stressing that the Iranian regime must not be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. He also highlighted the threat posed by Iran to descendants and the Jewish community in the UK. Let's listen in.
We want to see peace and security and the protection of civilian life. Iran can end this now. They should refrain from further strikes, give up their weapons programs, and cease the appalling violence and repression against the Iranian people, who deserve the right to determine their own future. The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes, but we have long been clear. The regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent, even in the United Kingdom. The Iranian regime poses a direct threat to dissidents and to the Jewish community.
We're now being rejoined by Dr. Emmanuel Navon. Thank you for rejoining us back here with this new development. As we've just heard from Starmer, he emphasised the importance of peace and security, and stressing that the Iranian regime must not be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. Do you think that from his speech and saying that he will release military planes to go into the air, do you think this will also instigate any other European allies to also join in?
Well, I think that Europe's leaders have a very clear choice today. Do they want to join the struggle of freedom in the Middle East, or do they want to continue this double speak, pretending they want to prevent a nuclear Iran, and on the other hand, trying to rely on the completely unreliable United Nations? Already today, I believe, French President Macron said he was calling for a meeting of the Security Council. Why the Security Council, where Russia has a permanent seat and is an aggressor in Ukraine? It is an illusion today to rely on an organization, the United Nations, which is morally bankrupt, which is completely not adapted to the international system of 2026. And therefore, I think that European leaders have an opportunity today to tell us exactly where they're standing. Are they standing, as I said, on the side of freedom, really? Or do they want to continue to pretend that an international system that is no longer functioning can still function again? So whoever wants freedom for the Iranian people, and whoever wants to prevent the Islamic Republic of Iran from staying in power and obtaining nuclear weapons, has to side with Israel and with the United States and stop pretending that peace and stability are going to be reached by preaching alone.
And as we know, Starmer had talks also with Germany and France. What do you think also from these talks would come of them?
Well, the truth of the matter is that no matter what emerges from those talks, the United States and Israel will continue to defeat the Iranian Islamic Republic of Iran, and will pursue this operation until victory. No matter what is being discussed among the countries you just mentioned. As I said, those countries have an opportunity to choose the right side of history. It is for them to decide where they're standing, but Israel and the United States have made their choice.
And with going forward, what do you think the EU or other European allies are going to do going forward?
Well, first of all, the EU does not have a unified voice when it comes to foreign policy. This is an illusion. Among the 27 members of the EU, we know that there are very different positions and interests when it comes to foreign policy. So there's no such a thing as a EU position on foreign policy, as we know. I mean, officially there is, but in practice there isn't. There are different governments with different foreign policy opinions. There are, of course, the main actors within the EU itself. But as I said, those different countries, we've already heard France, for example, saying, you know, the Security Council has to convene and stop the fighting. No, the fighting shouldn't stop. The fighting should continue until victory. And President Macron, as I said, has to decide if he stands on the side of the free world or if he just wants to be preaching empty slogans. And so I don't expect any significant decision from the EU because, of course, the EU has a representative, for foreign policy and security policy. She, of course, is supposed to speak in the name of the EU, but I very much doubt that she will have a clear message from the 27 members of the European Union.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel.